Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for attending or for tuning into this webinar this evening on treating the back. And not very far away from me, on the other side of Norwich, I have Dinah John on the line.
Hi, everybody. Hiya.
And next to me, I've got Shakura doing the technical side.
Hello, everybody.
So we're all set to go. All I've got to do now is just show my screen and wait for that to update across the globe. So you should be seeing a screen any minute now, treating the back with Shiatsu and TCM. And any minute now, you're going to see a picture of us, the presenters. Here we go. That's me and Dinah, and we've got some lovely smiley pictures here. We're looking very smiley. Okay, so before we go into the actual content of the webinar, first of all, we're going to find out a little bit about you, and we'll introduce you to the whole webinar experience. So I'm just going to ask Shakura to launch the first poll, and what this is a chance for us to interact with you. And the first thing we want to find out about you is what you are. Yep. No. Oh yeah. How many webinars you have been to? That's what we're going to ask you first. Yeah. Let's just see whether you've been to a webinar before. Let's see. Oh, here we go. I can see them already voting. Oh yes. Wow. Okay. 79% voted. Anyone else like to vote? 84% voted.
Just click in the box.
Yep. Yeah, if you've got an iPad, you may not see this. That's the only problem. It's not. It's not supported. The voting isn't supported on iPads. Okay, I think that's it. We've got 90%. So we've got a third of you haven't been to a webinar before. Oh, okay. So welcome and thank you so much for tuning in. And we've got some really experienced 6% of you have been to more than 6. Wow, they're veterans. Okay. Well, for the benefit of the third of you who haven't been on a webinar before, I think I'll just better skip through a few slides to show you how they work before we launch off into the actual content. Okay, so how you can participate? Well, we do like participation. There's two main ways you can do that. You can either ask us questions in the text area, and which is demonstrated here. You see where the text is a bit like text message or sending a little email to us, and you can send that to us at any time, and Shakura will pick it up and she'll feed it to Dinah or me, and we'll try and answer it as we go along. Okay, so that's what.
So you just type in your little question in the box marked questions
and send it off to us. Yeah, that little orange thing there, by the way, will make your control panel disappear and reappear again if you want it out of the way. Okay, and then the other way you can interact with us, if you've got headphones and a microphone like a Skype headset, then you can put your hand up, which is clicking on this little hand, and then what we can do is we can unmute you, and then we can actually listen to you ask a question live on the broadcast, and we always like doing that. If you think you've got a good audio connection, then we can do that.
I can't see the hand option.
No? Okay.
On my screen. I wonder if everybody can.
You should be able to see it if you're a participant. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
Yeah. I don't think as a presenter you can put your hand up because you're already here.
Okay. It's true, I am.
Yeah. I think you have to be a participant, and we can see who's put their hand up in our little attendees box there, Dinah. So we can see who's put their hand up if they do. People do put their hands up by accident, but don't worry if you do. You can always take them down again. Take the hand down again. Okay. So here we are. Shall we find out a little bit more about you? We've got a question on who you are and how confident you feel treating back problems just with Shiatsu, just to get an idea before we go. So let's have a look at the first one. What are you? Oh, here we go. Okay, we're all Shiatsu people here tonight. Let's have a look. Have we got any more people on the vote before we publish the results? Okay. Right, that's good. 91% voted. Have a look at this. Okay, so most of you are Shiatsu practitioners. About 1 in 5 of you are Shiatsu students. Thanks for tuning in. And 20%, again, 1 in 5 are actually teachers. So it's great to have you on the great to have you on the webinar. Okay, so now let's find out. We should do this before and after, really, shouldn't we? I thought of that, but but let's find out anyway. Initially, how confident you are treating back problems with Shiatsu. Let's see how you feel. Okay. Wow, look at this. We've just got a very small percentage feel unconfident, 25% feel. So we've got about a third feeling either neutral or unconfident, and then 45% of you are confident and 25% are very confident. So there we are. Superb. That's good. Yeah, good. Excellent. Okay. Well, let's just see if we can give you some more ideas as we go through. And then, of course, if you're interested in getting some more input and you want to have a lovely, fun time with us for 5 weeks, you can always join us on the online course, which starts, I think, next Wednesday, doesn't it? Yeah. Okay, great. So here we go. Let's see. I'll just click into here. Right. So let's just give you a little introduction to what we're going to be covering in the next hour. And there'll be a chance for you to ask questions and stuff like that. I've got some exercises for you as well to do as we go along, try and make it as interactive as possible. We're going to be just discussing and having a look at the back as a tensegrity structure, first of all. And then we're going to look at how the meridians can be treated as holographic structures. And this is very important when it comes to treating, dealing with the whole issue of location, which we're going to talk about a bit later. Now, where is the pain? We'll have a brief look at the role of TCM and Masanaga functions when you're treating the back. And then we'll have the action of points. We've got 2 of our favorite points to share with you, which I'm sure you all know, but we can look into that. And then we're going to look at integrating it all together, integrating all the different things together. Okay, so first of all, let's think about the spine. And this is certainly how I thought of the spine when I started my Shiatsu training, having just done conventional anatomy and physiology. You tend to think of it like this, like a kind of column, like a kind of compression structure with one brick built on top of the other, and the discs kind of supporting a bit like mortar between the bricks, okay? So we tend to think of it as relatively fixed. I mean, I know it moves and everything, it rotates and everything, but in terms of the actual weight bearingness of it, we tend to think of it as one vertebrae piled on top of another, like a sort of continuous compression structure from the top to the bottom. And that forms a kind of model in our mind of what we're dealing with if we look at it from the point of view of conventional anatomy, which is how I think a lot of us often do think of it, having done the anatomy and seen the models of the spine. However, recently there's been quite a bit of interest in viewing the back as a tensegrity structure. So let's just find out a little bit about that. Okay, tensegrity is the kind of idea was invented by Buckminster Fuller, who's an architect, and you can see the principle in a lot of modern buildings where you'll see not just compression structures like old-fashioned buildings built one brick on top of another, but you'll see a lot of tension members and compression members. So if you imagine, I can think of Stansted Airport as an example, where you've got that amazing roof and it's actually held up by a series of almost like stays, a bit like guy ropes, as well as the actual pillars holding them up. And that's an example of tensegrity in architecture. And the interesting thing for us is that whole concept can be extended to the body. And here we have a tensegrity model. We've got a great video on the course of it being of a tensegrity model being moved about, but you can see, look, you've got all these dowels which are kind of floating, and they're the compression members, and they're held together by the tension members, which are like elastic bands. And if you get one of these models or you see a video of it, you'll see that all of the compression members will actually float around, and they're supported by these tension members. And so it gives you an idea of a much more free kind of floating structure. So you've got this compression and tensional aspect to it. Now, if we think about the spine being a tensegrity system, we have a completely different model in our minds about how the spine works. Because rather than being a compression structure, you actually have this tensegrity structure with the bones floating in the soft tissue. So the whole thing is very much more a kind of a free floating type of thing. And if it wasn't for those tension, and especially the tension members, which we'll talk about in a minute, how they're formed in the body, actually the bones would all just kind of fall to the floor. They're kind of loose, much looser than we imagine when we look at the conventional anatomy model. Okay, now the exciting thing for us as Shiatsu practitioners is the fascia, or the connective tissue, plays the role of the rubber bands that we have in the tensegrity model. And the exciting thing for us is, of course, because the meridian link with the fascia, and that's what gives us the connection between tensegrity and the meridian system. Okay, so let's have a little look at the meridians. Now look, doesn't that look like a lot of elastic bands? I think it really does. You see, that's our rubber bands, that's our elastic bands. We have the meridian system through the connective tissue. And we can use those, we can use the meridians to affect the connective tissue, to affect the tensegrity system of the spine and the back. Okay, so there we have the tensegrity structure right there. We've got the meridians, which, as we know now, are embedded in the fascia. And we have a highly sophisticated system here, because not only can we work on the physical body, obviously, but by using the meridians and by using the points and everything that we know in Shiatsu, and as we go on, as we'll find out a bit later on, meridian resonances, we can work obviously on all different levels as well as we treat the back. Okay, so here we go. Have you got any comments at all, Dinah, at this stage?
Nothing specific, no.
No. Okay. Okay, right. Okay, let's go on to the next slide then. Okay. So now, if we think about the influence of Masunaga and Pauline Sasaki, there's some interesting features here when we're talking about, or when we're thinking about how to treat the back. So let's just have a review of a few of these. Here's a picture of Masunaga. There's a picture of Pauline. And here's a few things that I find particularly interesting in terms of applying the meridian system to treating the back. Okay. First of all, we've got Masunaga's meridian expressions. And the interesting thing about those, if we think about them, for example, and we're going to do some exercises in a minute, but if you think of the meridian expressions, you'll notice that the meridian is experienced kinesthetically in the whole body. And that's very interesting from point of view of treating the back, because what it means is we've got basically freedom of using meridians in either the arms or the legs to work the back. Okay, so we've got that whole body connection. And Pauline extended that also with the whole idea of the holographic field. So the energetic field being holographic means that we can, again, contact any part from any part, and every part is a representation of the whole. And that, again, with the meridian expressions, gives us quite a large amount of freedom in treating anything with Shiatsu, but particularly the back. Okay, so the holographic idea is the idea that every cell resonates with all of the meridians. And the reason that we're mentioning this is because we'll find out later, because I've just remembered I've prepared a poll on exactly this later on. I'm going to get you to ask a question about how you link your diagnosis with back issues. And we're going to do that later on. We'll find out and we'll go on from there. Oh, look, here's Dan Keown, I suppose it's pronounced. Keown? Keown, yeah, Dan Keown, yeah. And we've got some exciting news about Dan, which is, he has agreed, or he'd like to come along to the residential next year, next March. Yeah.
That's the
Okay.
combined Shiatsu
Yeah.
College postgraduate
Yes,
residential.
and the reason that
in
we're
Kent.
excited about him visiting, apart from the fact he only lives down the road in Tunbridge Wells, which is convenient, is that he's just written a book which has just been published, which is the fastest selling Chinese medicine book ever. And the reason that it's so fast selling is because it's a fantastic gripping read, isn't it, Dinah? It's a really gripping read.
Unputdownable.
I read mine in 2 days flat. I couldn't put it down. And so what he's done is it's very, very interesting what he's done. He's linked embryology with Chinese medicine theory, Shiatsu theory. So
it's worth saying that he is not only a Western trained medical doctor, but also an acupuncturist who studied in China. So he's bringing East and West together.
Yes.
The key exciting thing for us is the embryological connections.
Yes,
but it's
that's
a
right.
great book. It was those of you in the UK who belong to the Society will have seen it reviewed in the last Shiatsu Society journal. I encouraged various people to write reviews, and it is a really great book that I can't recommend strongly enough. And yeah, we're excited to have him coming and giving us a bit of a talk at our residential. And it really gives a different insight into things like the bladder channel, as you can see here.
Yeah.
That's a video you can find on YouTube.
Yeah, that's right. Because apparently it turns out that at an early stage of embryology, the body is connected into segments, which is drawn here. And the segments are kind of separate from each other, and they have their own little tiny kidney and their own tiny little bladder, and those little tiny mini bladders are connected internally to the embryological development of the internal organs, and those little bladders all kind of line up right down the back just where the bladder meridian is. I mean, the thing that
I think they're little tiny kidneys that empty into one long thin tube that later
that's right.
Develops into the actual bladder, but initially there's one long emptying bladder right the way down the spine.
That's right.
So
and
it makes complete sense of the U points.
Yes. The thing that I find quite extraordinary about it is just how, and he actually says that in his book. He says, what were these guys smoking when they came up with it? Because it's like crazy, and it's crazy that they could have such amazing insights without knowing this incredibly detailed early embryology. It's just incredible, isn't it, really? And some of the extraordinary. So we're going to be using some of his videos as part of the course. I'm upgrading the course right now, the online course, to include some of his work. Having only just read the book. So there we are. We're putting all the latest stuff in here. But that's really interesting. Okay, here we go. Right. This is the poll that I was mentioning, that I'm interested to see what you say for this. Okay, which is, and you can click more than one of these. Okay, but just click the ones that are the main. Maybe click 2 or 3 at the most, and just select. Right, and let me just explain. Yeah, the idea is once you've got your diagnosis, you've got someone with back issues, okay? You've got your diagnosis. Now, how do you link your diagnosis to the back issues that the person have? And the options are the meridian location. In other words, I've got a pain in my back. It must be the bladder meridian or the kidney meridian or maybe the small intestine meridian or something like that. The U point location. All right, that's the U points. The Masnaga diagnostic areas, or the functions of the meridians in TCM, or the function of the meridians in Masnaga. Okay, so let's have a look. Yeah, let's have a look. They've got to think about this, you see. So don't tick more than 3. You're not allowed to tick more than 3. Not that I can stop you. Let's have a look. Oh, so exciting. Right, okay, this is very interesting. Yeah, okay, any more? We've got 77. Let's just give it a little bit longer, sugar, because there's 81% now, 85%. Wait until you've got at least 90% voted. Wow, this is so interesting. This is interesting. Yeah, is that it? Okay, I think that's it. Should we publish it? Okay, look at this. The most popular thing all round is meridian location, 83%. U-points come in at 35%. The Masanaga diagnostic area is 57%. Functions of the meridian in TCM is 52%. And the function of the meridian in Masanaga system is 65%. Okay, that's interesting. That is interesting, yeah. I think we can help you. Because I think there's actually quite a lot of contribution for to understand the functions of the meridians in TCM. I'm thinking of one particular meridian right now that's a really good one. And yep, otherwise I think it's pretty much as you might expect. Although the meridian location, that's an interesting one, isn't it? Because that came out way at the top. But the problem you have with that is the issue that can arise. Let's say that the issue that can arise is, what do you do if you've got someone with a back problem somewhere in the back, and the meridian location that it's on doesn't appear in the HARA diagnosis, you know?
Good question. Good question.
Shakura is looking startled and shrugging her shoulders. No idea. Okay, well, let's see if we can give you a few ideas for that. Okay. And that links back to what we were talking about before with the holographic Tensegrity type model, because that can help free us up from being kind of held too much by the meridian location as being our main reference point in terms of analysing the meridian involvement with a back issue or back problem. Okay, but before we do that, look, I've got exercise on the meridians. Yep. Oh, we've got a question. Okay, let's have a look. What have we got? Can I just have a look and see what's the question?
Sandy. Oh no, Rachel's got her hand up. Woohoo!
All right.
She's
Okay.
taking it down.
Yep. Okay. Okay, right. Okay, we haven't got any problems so far. Yeah, if you have got any questions or anything, then just
I can't see a
type
little
in.
question mark beside Sandy Malini.
Yeah, no, we've looked at that. She was just checking to see whether she's seeing the right things. If she couldn't see the poll, I think that was what it was.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Right. Okay. Try this at home. Okay, it's quite safe. We're going to do some exercises. Okay, so let's just try this. Look. I'm going to show you. We're going to use a couple of visualizations based on the functions of the meridians. Okay, so if you want to get up, we're going to stand up. Oh, that's great to stand up, isn't it? Okay, we're just going to shake out. Shake out. Okay, now we're just going to try this exercise, and we'll just see how the function, Masanaga function, and a TCM function can affect the back. Okay, irrespective of the actual location of the meridian. Okay, so we're going to try this. Look. Okay, are you okay, Dinah? I can hear a bit of plonking.
Yeah.
You're okay?
Yeah, sorry, I'm just trying to
stand up with your headphones.
Up so I can stand up. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so first of all, let's try this. Look, we're just going to tune into our spine and our back. Okay, and just see how it feels. So just kind of scan down from the top, from the base of your skull down through your neck. Okay, all the way down. Just notice any areas in your back that seem to be, that seem to be a bit blocked, or they might feel weak. Okay, we'll just see how we are when we start. Okay, and I'm going to do 2 meridian exercises with you. I'm going to do it myself. We're going to see what happens. Okay, right. So the first function we're going to activate is the lung meridian. Okay, so we're going to bring our arms up into the yawn position, extend the thumb. We're going to breathe in. Okay, breathe out and release. Okay, breathe in. Breathe out and release. Okay, breathe in, stretching up into the yawn position, bring your arms up, thumbs out, breathing in, breathing out and releasing. Okay, right, so now we're going to do the Mako exercise. So we come up, we're going to link the thumbs together, okay, the Mako exercise, okay, and we're going to breathe in, okay, slowly breathe out. We're going to bend forwards. Okay, so we have the intake of ki obviously on the in-breath, and as we breathe out, we release. That's the large intestine function of releasing. Just going to hold that for a few seconds. And we're going to breathe in again. Breathe out. Okay. Right, and then we're going to breathe in. Last time. And breathe out. Okay. All right, we're going to slowly come up. Right, okay, so now let's just tune into our spine again. Okay. And what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to notice anywhere where you feel a release, and even more interesting, anywhere where you feel an increase in energy of any areas that felt weak. Okay, in my own case, I can feel more energy down in the sacrum and the lower back, okay, which is not exactly where you'd normally associate the lung meridian. However, the chi coming in has gone into that area for me, and it'll be different for you. Okay, so just tune into that. Okay, so that's the first thing. Notice how the lung intake of ki and the releasing function of the large intestine, where that's mainly affected you, and whether that correlates with the location of the meridians or the areas. Okay, right, so now let's do one other exercise, and what we're going to do is I'm going to take you into a visualization to activate the spleen meridian. So let's just open the channel up in a simple way. First of all, the stomach and spleen meridian, we're just going to do a simple back bend, opening up the front of the body. So we're going to breathe in, lift the hands up above you towards the ceiling, okay, and then just gently stretch back as you breathe out. Stretch up and back, just open up the stomach channel all the way up your legs, up the trunk and into the neck and the jaw. Okay, and then breathing in, stretching directly upwards again. Okay, and then breathing out. Okay, and then breathing in again, stretching up. Just visualize the stomach and spleen channel opening up. Okay, and then just as a counter stretch, we're just going to bend forwards just to open up the back. Right, okay, now what I'd like you to do now is activate spleen 3. So you should be able to, if you can reach your feet, which I hope you can, bend your knees if you need to. Spleen 3 is just around the, if you don't know where it is, it's on the inside of the foot, obviously where the spleen channel runs. You go kind of just behind and under where the big joint is of the big toe. Okay, so we're going to activate that point. We're just going to gently press it and feel the energy connecting down into the earth from that point. Okay, now just hold it gently and see if you can feel energy going up through the spleen channel. Just visualize energy coming from the earth going up the spleen channel, up into the knees, then up into the hips. Okay, and once you get that feeling of the energy going up from that point, gently just release it, but keep your mind on that point, and then use the power of that point, the energy going up your legs, coming from the earth, to slowly unroll your body. Okay. Right, okay, until you're completely in a standing position. Okay, still tune into the point. And now imagine energy coming up from that point, again from the earth, going into your spine, and just notice whereabouts you feel that energy going to in the spine and the feeling it gives you in the spine.
That is so cool. I've never done that before.
It's great. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it?
Great.
Okay.
Yeah, really.
Now you may or may not know this, but spleen 3 is a point that's used to strengthen the back using the spleen function of TCM, which is holding up the back. So if you imagine the Tensegrity system of the back, you imagine the spleen energy coming up from the floor, coming up through spleen 3, activated by spleen 3, and coming up, you'll feel this sensation of the back being held up. And that's the relationship between the spleen channel and fatigue and kind of feeling of heaviness and and compression often in the spine. Okay, and again, you'll probably feel it all the way up the spine, and you may feel it just resonating with particular places, probably where you need the most support from the earth. And again, that may or may not be where the spleen meridian runs. Well, for a start, the spleen meridian doesn't run on the back, does it? I mean, you've got the U points and the diagnostic area, but I don't think you'll find that particularly relevant. It's more the function, the TCM function, and that point that gives you that feeling. Okay, so please now, you might want to just jot down your experiences, or better still, just type them in using the question field or the chat field, and then we'll read them out and we'll get an idea of what kind of experience you had with it.
While you're doing that, I'll just say one of the phrases that I think is great when you're thinking about the spleen function is that the spleen confers the ability to feel lightness in the body.
Right. Yes.
And as we all know, when the spleen's not working well, we tend to feel heavy, associated with damp and so on, but a heavy feeling. And one of the spleen's gifts is that ability to feel lightness in the body, and that was actually my experience. That's why I was saying I was excited to feel it. And my initial blocked area was actually in the lower thoracic part of my back.
Yeah.
And that exercise I felt has really strongly helped to open that. But I can feel that whole lightness floating up the whole of my back. It's very pleasing.
Great. Yeah. The interesting thing for me was that I felt when I just kind of scanned my back, my lower back, the sacrum and the lower back was the weakest area, and that's where the lung energy went. Right. That descending, you've got that descending function of the
descending function
chi,
of the
haven't
lungs
you?
into
Yeah.
yeah.
And you'd immediately think of it as being a bladder kidney thing. But yeah, what have we got? All right, okay, we've got quite a few comments. Let's have a little look. Have a look here. Yeah. No, I'm not showing a video. No, I wasn't showing a video. I was just talking you through the exercise. Yeah, that's right. Someone was just querying whether I was showing a video.
No, you'll get those on the online course.
Yeah, the videos are on the online course. Yeah. Okay, Sandy, look at this. Sandy said actually she felt light. She felt connected to the sky and strong and light too. Yeah. There we are. You see, that's cool. The thing. Yeah. All right, and Ali felt the diagnostic area warm and moving, and the lower back felt more supported. So there we are. You see, that's another example where you think lower back, you think bladder and kidney, but in this case, the spleen meridian was the one that really affected it. So, we've got like loads are coming in now.
And Lorna's has got his hand up.
Yep. Okay, I'll just read a few more out. We've got Lorna. Yeah. A sense of lightness and connection with the heavens, rather than more tired. Yeah, it was holding the areas that needed it. They're still tight. It feels good. Yeah, great. Let's have a look. All right, look. Felt the meridian up the back, especially the right side and around the kidneys. This is Jenny. Freeing up blocks in the mid-back. And that was, again, you just wouldn't have expected that, would you? Yep. Oh, and here's our Michael Clark from Australia.
Hi, Michael. Yeah.
Well, you must be up very early in the morning. I suppose slightly less early because we're half an hour later than usual. Yeah, that's it. Whole back supported again.
Yeah, lovely.
round the spinal column. That's Xavier. Oh, Rachel was out of contact for a bit, but she returned just in time to press spleen 3. It back feels better. It was painfully stiff, and now it feels better. That's Rachel. Rachel Nicole.
Great.
Excellent, great. Okay, so have we got someone with a hand up?
Yes, Temis. I don't know how you say the name.
Okay.
I'm guessing Temis Rinas.
Okay, let's have a look.
At the bottom of the list.
Oh yeah, okay. Shall we try unmuting?
Yes.
Themis, and just see. We'll just see whether we can get the audio. Let's see. Hi, can you hear us? Themis, can you hear us? Hello? I've unmuted him or her. I can't hear anything as yet. Hello, I wonder if they've got audio. No. Okay, never mind. Oh, hang on. Here we are. Hello.
Cliff,
Yeah,
Hello.
can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes. Whereabouts are you?
Sorry,
Whereabouts are you?
I'm hearing you.
Great, he can hear me.
Are you in Spain, Temis? Sounds
No,
Spanish.
I'm in Greece.
Greece!
In
There we
Greece,
are! Oh,
hooray!
hooray! Of course.
How lovely.
Yeah, great. Have you got any questions or any comments about that exercise?
No, not yet. I'm trying to understand.
It's great to hear your voice. Okay, and it just shows you that it does work. It's perfect. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So if anyone else wants to ask any questions or any anything else, then or make any comments, and just put your hand up, and I'll try and get you through on audio. Okay. I have to mute you the rest of the time, because otherwise, what happens is we get tons of background noise, and the whole thing can sort of turn into a bit of a nightmare sound wise. Okay, Brigitte, let's try. Let's see whether we can get through. Hi, Brigitte, can you hear me? Let's just see. It takes a little while for it to update. Hi.
Yes, hello.
Oh, loud and clear. Whereabouts are you from? Are you
Switzerland.
Switzerland. Okay, cool. There we are. Excellent. Have you got any comments about that exercise or any questions?
No, I was struggling with my headset and I couldn't do the exercise properly.
Oh no. Okay. Any questions so far?
I was just wondering how I could write a comment, but never mind. Now that I can talk to you, it's all right.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. So you can, you can write just write a comment in the questions, and yeah, great. So if you've got any other questions or comments later on, just give us a call. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Or if you click on the triangle beside questions, if it's pointing to the right, then you need to click on it so it points down, and then it opens up the little box where you just type in.
Yeah.
Just type in your question.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Okay.
You got it. Okay. Cool. Great. All right. That's great. We've had two successful audio connections. Excellent. Right. Okay. So here we go. Let's have a look. Right, okay, that's an interesting question. Yep, okay, let's have a look. In therapeutic action, yeah. Okay, well, the main...
What's the question?
Yeah, the question is, Sandy's asking, we know where Sandy is, she's in Portland.
Portland, Oregon.
Oregon, yeah. Any suggestions on getting energy through an injury or a surgical scar? Okay, well, the main method that I use for that is basically using two-handed technique. So what you do is I use the channel or channels that run through an injury, and then what I'll do is I'll assess either side of them to see which side is more Kyo or more Jitsu than the other, and then what I'll do is I'll work holding either side of it and using two-handed connection. So you kind of imagine the chi going between your thumbs or your fingers until you can. And you just keep working basically until you can feel that connection getting stronger, and that's what then, well, in Chinese terms, that's what's the chi leads the blood, and the blood is what does the kind of more substantial healing from a sort of biophysics point of view, what we're doing is we're connecting up, we're using the connective tissue system in order to get kind of electromagnetic connections, which essentially is the same thing through the area. And the other thing that's useful is magnets as well. I've used magnets quite a lot. Kiko Matsumoto had a whole thing about that on using scars, using magnets on scars.
Scars,
I mean, it's really quite effective. You can take the whole scar, you find the kind of block bits, what we call the jitsu bits, and you put a north-facing magnet on the jitsu bits, and you find the kyo bits. If you can find the bits that react as well, the best. Then you put a south-facing magnet on those, and you can leave them on. You can either use very strong magnets for a short period of time, like 10, 15 minutes, or you can put weaker ones on and leave them on for a few hours or even a day. And what happens then is the sensitivity, once you take them off, you'll notice, or the client will notice, the sensitivity will go down, and the scar just tends to be better structured after that. So that's 2 suggestions.
And I would just add that when I'm working with an injury, not just connecting above and below, but really strong visualization of the key moving through the area between your hands. So it's two-handed connection, but really focus on visualizing that a flow between the hands.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not so much between the front and the back as Xavier asked for. It's more like if you imagine you've got, say for example, you've got an arm and you've got a cut across it or something like that, then it's basically joining. It's either side of the injury, basically, is what you want to do. You want to try and get the chi flow normalized as much as you can. And what I normally do is just reference the other side. So we'll do the other side first, see what it feels like, and then you just keep working the affected side as long as you can to get it feeling as much as you can like the other side.
Get really brilliant results from it, actually.
Yeah, it is really good. It's really good.
Yeah.
And it is
even through plaster if you've got breaks.
Yes,
if you've
that's
got a broken limb, you can even work through plaster, and there you are really strongly using your visualization.
And chi projection, yeah. Quite often the client will feel it. They'll feel like a warm sensation between your hands or underneath your hand as you go down it. So,
and then they go back to the hospital and they say, "How did you heal so quickly?"
Yep, we've had that happen several times, haven't we? Yeah. All right, here we go. So now, assuming that exercise has whetted your appetite for the functions, I thought we'd just spend a minute just looking through some of these functions. Well, lung and large intestine we've already dealt with. It's got the intake of qi and elimination. So what you're doing there is bringing qi into the whole back, and the releasing function of the large intestine can be, again, from a holographic point of view, can apply anywhere in the back. Stomach and spleen we've also dealt with that exercise with spleen 3. So
another word we could have put in that list is support.
Yes.
Stomach and spleen provides nurture and support on all levels, but including supporting the structure of the back.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Small intestine meridian is a really important meridian in the back, just the channel, the location of the channel, and of course it's linked to the heart, so you've got the emotional center, and often you'll get, from a location point of view, you'll often get heart meridian issues will affect the mid-thoracic. That's a very, very common thing. Kidney and bladder is the classic, of course, because of the link with the bones and the nervous system and everything. Triple heater and heart protector, another interesting meridian, integration of all the 3 heaters. We're doing that on the course right now, 3-heater course right now, those of you who are on it. And we've got the triple heater meridian runs obviously on the back as well, but it also has more of a protective function. And then liver and gallbladder are very important, of course, because it's the link with the muscles to do with stagnation and distribution of qi. So all of those meridians, irrespective of location, can be linked to, functionally linked to the back. And that's kind of what one of the things that we deal with in the course is how you can directly connect with the resonances of the meridian functions in the back.
Yeah, and worth mentioning that small intestine often relevant when there's been trauma or shock.
Yes.
That can manifest in the back, and whiplash, for example, but also any kind of accident or trauma. Often manifest in back pain along the small intestine channel itself, or can be affected by working on the small intestine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's right. And I just thought I'd mention the Mako exercises because the Mako exercises, although they obviously stretch the meridian locations in the arms and the legs, as we know, it's also worth bearing in mind that they also link directly with the meridian functions through the expressions of Masnaka's meridian expressions. So you kind of get a double whammy with the Mako exercises. You've not just got the meridian, the actual stretching of the tensegrity system linked to the connective tissue, but you've also got the functional expression, a bit like we did with that exercise there. And that's really can be very useful. And that what we're trying to emphasize here is that you can use the Mako exercises functionally, even if you are querying from a location point of view where the back problem is, which we've discovered when we were doing the exercises. Okay, here's some favorite points. Is this one of your favorite points, Dinah?
I love the kidney 3. Lovely, fantastic point.
Yeah, just in case you don't know where it is, here it is with a big blue dot on it. Yeah, I found that picture on the internet. You can see that, can't you? It gives you plenty of room for error as well. It's a very, very large dot, So in practice, you have to. In fact, I was putting some magnets on one of my clients today, and we were actually feeling around. And it is true that the points do move around. You can't really trust the classical locations 100%. You have to just feel around. Either feel the connection with the function of the point, or you can feel the kind of change in the skin texture as you feel around. And
often your clients will feel them too. I had a great one the other day. One of my clients had been traveling, and her child gets travel sickness.
Yeah.
And she had put those bands around the wrist that stimulate heart protector 6.
Yeah.
And her child, who's like 10 or something, he found it really helpful, but he had to adjust it because he didn't think it was in quite the right place. And
there we are. Wow, how about that?
Yeah, really good.
That's really good. Yeah. Okay, so the reason we love it so much is the source point of the kidney meridian. It tonifies the kidney yin and yang, particularly the kidney yin, which is a difficult thing to do at the best of times. So it's always good to have some help with that. And it's a point
I know to my cost. Yeah, it's a great point.
Clinical application, you can either place, one of my favorite techniques is actually placing my mother hand underneath the lower back or the sacrum, tuning into the spine, and then working the point, and then you can adjust the depth and the technique until you get the maximum feeling of the energy coming up the leg. And clients often feel that. They'll feel this kind of warm feeling going up the leg and everything. Really ideal for strengthening the back. Okay, so we've got that's kidney 3. And now, completely in complete contrast, another one of our favorite points, okay, which you can also use in a similar way, placing the mother hand on wherever it is, as long as you can reach it. That's the point, because this is where the point is. It's down here, just below the bone that you can feel. You can feel it on yourself. So yeah, if you can just feel the head of the tibia and just go to the outside, slightly outside of front, and you'll feel like an indentation. That point is really good for the back. In fact, it's good for all kind of muscular blockages, but I find it superb for the back because it links directly to the distribution function of the liver and gallbladder.
Yeah, relaxes the sinews is one of its classical actions, isn't it? To relax the sinews. So, and we didn't mention that when we were looking at the functions. We just had distribution by liver and gallbladder, but it's worth remembering that when that function of distribution fails, the most common manifestation is stagnation, stuckness, and that's associated with a lot of aspects of back pain, the strong back pain, sharp back pain, that kind of thing, where there's stagnation. And gallbladder 30 and gallbladder 34 are classic points to help free stagnation and smooth the flow of ki.
I find it works like magic. This one, I use it all the time for spasming.
I use it all the time.
Spasming, yeah. Because again, it doesn't matter where the spasming is. Even if you've got spasming in the lower lumbar, for example, which again you'd think of as being a kidney area, if it's the main thing is that contraction and tightness, then you can literally put your mother hand on it, and you'll find that gallbladder 34 will really help release it.
I often use 30 and 34 together with sciatica.
Yes, yeah.
Treating sciatica.
Yeah.
Really.
The side position, is that the side position?
Yeah, inside, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, and there's the function, releases the tendons and spreads the liver ki. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about questioning, how to question about the things to ask your client when they come in with a back problem. And we've got 4 of our favorite questions. 2 of them are clean questions and 2 of them are TCM questions. Okay, so the first thing is you take the keyword. So if they say, oh, I've got this gripping pain, or I've got this feeling, what thing, then you can ask them this clean question: what kind of whatever it is it? And that helps them zero in on exactly the nature of the pain or the discomfort or whatever it is they're feeling. Okay, and that's
so if they say I've got backache, you say, well, what kind of
backache? Exactly, yeah, and that takes takes deeper into the actual sensation, and that's really useful later on, isn't it, when you get the meridians, because the meridians have different actions, and those actions can link with how they express what kind of thing it is that they have, and you can link it directly.
Yeah, because if they say it's a sharp stabbing pain or a dull grinding pain or whatever, you can get a lot of insight from the key words that they use to
or
describe
a heavy pain.
Yeah, heavy. Dull pain.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Very insightful.
And then a really important thing is to find out where it is. You should really where exactly it is. And what I do is I always get the client to show me where it is and to put their hand on it. And I will often put my hand on it too and say, is it exactly here or there, or you know, and they will soon tell you exactly where it is. And that's especially when you're checking resonances from the hara, then that's a really useful thing to be able to do, is to put your hand exactly on it. And also, of course, just the power of touch, the fact that you've actually recognized it. And clients, I notice, will often say, oh, can you feel it? Can you feel something there? Won't they? You know,
absolutely.
And you can feed back to them, and that again gives them confirmation that they're not just making it up, that there is something that can be felt there. And here's a TCM related question: how long has it been going on for? That can, whether it's an acute or a chronic condition, makes quite a big difference in terms of how you analyze it in terms of TCM. And finally, what's it better or worse for? Particularly things like movement or rest, which gives an idea from a TCM point of view whether it's an excess or a deficiency, or whether it's better for cold or heat. They're the classic ones. But you can also just open it out, can't you, to the client? Say, well, is there anything, have you noticed anything that makes it better or worse? And that will take it on to different vibrational levels sometimes, won't it?
Yeah, and of course there are any number of variations on that. I mean, as well as how long. If they say, well, it's been for the last 3 months or something, what was happening 3 months ago? You know, oh, I fell off the horse or whatever it was. You know,
absolutely,
so, was there originally an injury, or was it just some difficult time of their life or whatever? So very, very important to ask carefully as much information as you can find out, but also encouraging them to connect with every aspect of it.
Because that's a surprising thing. It's a surprising thing sometimes, isn't it? Because they'll say, oh, it's been going on for 6 months, and you say, well, was anything happening around that time or before it? And they'll say, no, not really. And then maybe on the next session or halfway through the session, they'll suddenly sit up and go, oh yes, I've just remembered, blah, blah, blah. And they'll suddenly remember some highly significant event. And also the other thing is keeping it as open as you can, because some people might not associate some kind of emotional event with a physical pain. And, you know, and through the meridian system, we can make sense of that often, can't we? So a lot of it is just connecting things up. Okay, so when we come to integrating it all together, we've got the questioning. So the careful questioning can give us a real flavor of what's happening. We've got the hara diagnosis, which gives us the meridian resonances. So it's not just the meridian in terms of location and channels. What we're talking about is we've got a tensegrity system, we've got a holographic system of the meridian vibrations. So basically what that means is that any of the meridians can resonate anywhere in the back. Now what we can also do is we can test the resonance. So if you've got a particular issue happening in the back, and you can my main technique that I use, I slide my hand underneath their back and I'll hold exactly where it is, and then I'll test the resonances in the hara, and I'll find, and from that you can find out exactly how the meridians are all contributing to different aspects of whatever it is, and that's a really useful technique. Okay, and then of course we can then analyze it, or just think about what that actually means, what the meridians mean, how they're contributing to it, and then we can go deeper into the different reasons on different levels of why that's occurred. And then as we're treating, obviously we can use the meridians, but we can also link the point functions, just like we did with spleen 3, that lightning feeling of the spleen holding up the back. We can use that directly by, again, tuning in with the mother hand, activating the points and looking out for the energetic action of the points. And that's when the TCM and the point functions start to integrate in with the direct experience of the resonances of the meridians. That's an exciting thing, isn't it, when it all starts?
It's really exciting, and it's when the points really come alive is when you, I mean, I've got a bunch of points that when I'm treating back pain that I always check, even if I don't use them, I check whether I've got a resonance there, whether there's something happening when I press gallbladder 30 or 34 or
exactly,
whatever it is, and just seeing what the response is in the back.
Absolutely, yeah.
Keeping that sort of wide awareness so that you're tuning in not just to the little place on their ankle, but to where it's affecting the back, and that's where body scanning is useful as well.
Exactly, yeah. Which we're covering on the online course, aren't we?
Yeah.
Stomach 36 is a bit of a favourite for me because it directly links to the stomach channel, but also because it tonifies the spleen. That's a pretty good one to see whether there's an earth element resonance there, you know.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Yeah. Who have we got? We got the question. Let's have a look.
Oh my God! Look, it's 2056.
I know. I'm just wrapping up right now. In regard to resonance in the hara, are you looking for Kyojitsu? Well, there's basically two ways of doing it. Well, you can either do a global hara diagnosis, get the Kyojitsu meridians, and then test the resonance of the diagnostic meridians with the actual local issue, and that will give you some information about the global diagnosis. That's one way of doing it. The other way of doing it, which is kind of the other way round, is you can hold the area and then test the meridians one by one, and what will happen then is you'll feel whether the Jitsu and Kyo meridians, what their effect is, and that will give you an idea in the treatment whether it's going to work, actually, like working the Jitsu meridian. Because there are various theories about this. You should always work the Kyo first, and then some schools say, well, you should never work the Jitsu, and you should do this, that, and the other. And actually, in reality, none of those rules actually work in the real world. The only thing that really works is what actually works. And the only way to really find that out is to actually test it. And to do that, you have to be able to test the resonances, and then the client will tell you whether they want the Kyo, the Jitsu worked, or both worked, and that sometimes changes during the session as well, you know.
Or a separate meridian that isn't in the Kyojitsu diagnosis.
Exactly.
Sometimes you'll get a resonance with a meridian that isn't reactive in the hara, but when you tune into the local area and check around the whole hara, you think, oh crikey, well there's something going on with the triple heater or whatever it is.
That's right. And that's when you get
surprising.
That's when you get into the zone of multiple hara diagnosis. So it depends how much information you want. I would recommend starting off with doing the global hara diagnosis and checking it until you feel confident with working more than 2 meridians, and then by all means, you know, go the other way and do it.
But you can get local distortions where another meridian.
You can, absolutely. Well, not only that, but also you can get multiple, like different hara diagnosis, different vibrational levels, or different temporal spaces and stuff like that. So you can get more advanced into decoding the holographic system as well. Normally what happens is you get different hara diagnoses with different sessions, or one might come up at the end and stuff. But what can happen as you get more confident is you can start to work more than one hara diagnosis at a time. And that's what I've been doing for the last 5 or 10 years since I discovered it was possible. But there is a slight danger of getting too much information. You know, you have to be, you know, a bit careful of getting too much.
But you can always rely on the Shiatsu. And I mean, what was the percentage of people who felt, I think it was 25% people felt very confident.
They did,
and a very high percent felt confident.
They did,
and that's basically because we all know that Shiatsu is great for back pain.
It is brilliant,
and, you know, whenever people ask me, I'm always able to say with great confidence, yeah, it's brilliant for back pain. And I've had my own personal experience of that. Lots of osteopathy, lots of chiropractic. What works best? Shiatsu. Great.
Here's Andrew with another question. We've got to wrap up now. We've only got a minute left. But Andrew's asking, in terms of questioning, how relevant is the question how long and what's happening? Say in the case of a known arthritis that's been diagnosed by X-ray. Well, I would say that it's still very, very important to know all those things,
Yeah.
because even though because when you've got cases of arthritis and actual degeneration, the main thing you're doing is maximizing the function. And the fact is you can have some people with quite advanced arthritis that have very little pain, that's been shown on X-ray, and you can have it the other way around too, where you can have very slight X-ray, things on the X-ray, and much more pain. So the Meridian system and the whole energy system really does play a big part in that. Okay, well, it's been a very interesting evening. We've got to wrap up now because it's 9 o'clock. We've all got to go home, and if we're not already at home, like I'm not, I've got to go home. Just a quick mention about the online course. Here's a picture of one of the videos we use. We're going to have video tutorials for the first time on the back course to make them even more fun and interactive. So one of the main bits of feedback we get with the online courses is people really enjoy having networking basically for 5 weeks. You get continuous support and encouragement from your group and from the tutors. Dinah and I will be running the course, we'll be part of it, leading it, facilitating it. We use a lot of video, and basically you've got 5 weeks of learning new stuff, using it, playing with it on your clients, getting feedback, and it's surprisingly good fun, isn't it, Dinah? It's really good
way
fun.
more fun than people expect.
Yes, it is. Every time.
You do spend a bit of time on the computer, but you spend an awful lot of time with your clients practicing your new stuff.
You do.
And then feeding back about it and hearing about other people's experiences. It's really, really empowering and fun and simple. Actually, to work, people who are technophobes, don't be scared. It's dead easy.
Yeah, just click on the link, watch a video. Yeah, if you can send an email, you can do it, no problem. Yeah. In fact, if you're on this webinar, you definitely can. Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah. Well, thank you ever so much for all of you for joining us. It's been a great pleasure, and thanks for all the questions and comments and taking part in the exercises. And we will be getting this webinar uploaded in case you want to revisit it. And I think we've got 3 people booked on the online course already, and they'll be going quite quickly in the next week. So if you do want to join us, please email Shakura at admin@NewEnergyWork.com, or go as soon as possible and secure your place. Or just if you want to check out the course before you book up, we're still upgrading it, but you can get a general idea of the resources if you go to NewEnergyWork and just click on the link that I just put up just half an hour ago, which takes you into the course. The only thing is, of course, what you won't experience is the actual real fun bit, which is all the interaction. You'll just see the resources, but you'll get a feel for it. Okay, thank you very much. We're going to say goodbye now, and we'll let you know when the next webinar is. And thank you very much.
Yep. Thank you and good night, or good morning, Michael, and anyone else on the other side of the world.
Yeah. Thanks very much, Dinah, for your help.
Okay.
Great.
Bye, everyone.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.